Hello everybody, it's Hannah from Story Kids. Welcome back. If you were here with us yesterday, you probably saw our Welcome Back episode after a 5-year break from Story Kids, in which we read The Little Engine That Could, and we talked all about the beautiful artwork in the book. We talked about perseverance and helping our friends. We talked about working together and about how even though you might be little, you can be the person who changes someone's day and helps them. And at the end of that journey, we can all help each other and work together and have love and friendship. So, today we've got a really fun book for you. We have Amelia Bedelia. This was one of my favorite books when I was little, so I'm very excited to get to share it with you. So, this is Amelia Bedelia by Peggy Parish. Pictures by Fritz Siebel, or Seibel. I'm not too sure. Now, I want to ask you guys a question before we begin. How many of you like to read and write? That's awesome! Now, how many of you also like to draw or paint or make art or pictures? Yesterday, we talked about the pictures in The Little Engine That Could, and today I also want you to pay attention to the pictures in Amelia Bedelia. I have a really fun story planned for tomorrow in which the pictures are a really exciting and important part of the book. So remember that when you read stories, it's not just the words that matter, it's also the pictures. Everyone has a part in making a story count. It all comes together, right? Okay, here we go. Amelia Bedelia. As we read this book, I want you to think about chores that you might have, ways that you help around the house, okay? All right, here we go. There are a lot of pages in the beginning, aren't there? This book was written in 1963. Oh, Amelia Bedelia, your first day of work, and I can't be here. But I made a list for you. You do just what the list says, said Mrs. Rogers. Mrs. Rogers got into the car with Mr. Rogers. They drove away. Where do you think Mr. and Mrs. Rogers are going over here? They're with their dog, right? And there's Amelia Bedelia at their house. My, what nice folks. I'm going to like working here, said Amelia Bedelia. There's the list. I wonder what's on the list. Amelia Bedelia went inside. Such a grand house. These must be rich folks. But I must get to work. Here I stand just looking, and me with a whole list of things to do. Amelia Bedelia stood there a minute longer. I think I'll make a surprise for them. I think I'll make lemon meringue pie. I do make good pies. Do any of you like to make pie or cook or bake or anything like that? I like making cookies personally. So, Amelia Bedelia went into the kitchen. She put a little of this and a pinch of that into a bowl. She mixed and she rolled. Very busy at work in the kitchen, right? Soon her pie was ready to go into the oven. There, said Amelia Bedelia, that's done. Now, let's see what this list says. Amelia Bedelia read, change the towels in the green bathroom. Amelia Bedelia found the green bathroom. Those towels are very nice. Why change them, she thought. Have any of you ever changed the towels in your bathroom before? I wonder what Amelia Bedelia is going to do with them. Then, Amelia Bedelia remembered what Mrs. Rogers had said. She must do just what the list told her. Well, all right, said Amelia Bedelia. Amelia Bedelia got some scissors. She snipped a little here and a little there, and she changed those towels. I have a question for you guys. If you've ever changed towels or the sheets on your bed or your clothes, do you change them by cutting them up? That's not what I usually do. There, said Amelia Bedelia. She looked at her list again. Dust the furniture. Did you ever hear tell of such a silly thing? At my house, we undust the furniture. But to each his own way. Amelia Bedelia took one last look at the bathroom. She saw a big box with the words dusting powder on it. There are a lot of words that mean many things, right? Do you know what those are called? They're called homophones. That's not exactly what these are. Those are more like close like your clothes and close like a door. That's what a homophone is. But seems like Amelia Bedelia is misunderstanding some of the instructions. Well, look at that. A special powder to dust with, exclaimed Amelia Bedelia. So Amelia Bedelia dusted the furniture. That should be dusty enough. My, how nice it smells. If you're ever asked to dust furniture, that means you should take the dust off it, not put it on, right? I guess Amelia Bedelia doesn't know that. Draw the drapes when the sun comes in, read Amelia Bedelia. She looked up. The sun was coming in. Amelia Bedelia looked at the list again. Draw the drapes? That's what it says. I'm not much of a hand at drawing, but I'll try. What do you think she's going to do to the drapes? Usually draw means close, right? But I wonder what's going to happen. So Amelia Bedelia sat right down and she drew those drapes. Oh my goodness, she drew a picture of the drapes. That's so silly. Amelia Bedelia marked off about the drapes. Now what? Put the lights out when you finish in the living room. Amelia Bedelia thought about this a minute. She switched off the lights. Then she carefully unscrewed each bulb. And Amelia Bedelia put the lights out. So those things need to be aired out too, just like pillows and babies. Oh, I do have a lot to learn. Have you ever seen anyone hanging light bulbs on a clothesline before? I haven't. My pie! Exclaimed Amelia Bedelia. She hurried to the kitchen. Just right, she said. She took the pie out of the oven and put it on the table to cool. Then she looked at the list. I wonder what the list is going to say next. Measure 2 cups of rice. That's next, said Amelia Bedelia. Amelia Bedelia found 2 cups. She filled them with rice. And Amelia Bedelia measured that rice. For those of you who said you like to cook or bake before, is this how you measure cups of things? Usually I pour things into a measuring cup to measure them. Amelia Bedelia laughed. These folks do want me to do funny things. Then she poured the rice back into the container. The meat market will deliver a steak and a chicken. Please trim the fat before you put the steak in the icebox, and please dress the chicken. When the meat arrived, Amelia Bedelia opened the bag. She looked at the steak for a long time. Yes, she said, that will do nicely. Do any of you know what an icebox is? An icebox is what they used before refrigerators to keep things fresh and cold. Amelia Bedelia got some lace and bits of ribbon, and Amelia Bedelia trimmed the fat before she put the steak in the icebox. Now I must dress the chicken. I wonder if she wants a he chicken or a she chicken, said Amelia Bedelia. Amelia Bedelia went right to work. Soon the chicken was finished. She's dressing the chicken in clothes. She does some pretty funny things, doesn't she? Amelia Bedelia heard the door open. "The folks are back," she said. She rushed out to meet them. I wonder what they're going to think. "Amelia Bedelia, why are all the light bulbs outside?" asked Mr. Rogers. Oh, it's Mr. Rogers, excuse me. "Amelia Bedelia, why are all the light bulbs outside?" asked Mr. Rogers. "The list just said to put the lights out," said Amelia Bedelia. "It didn't say to bring them back in. Oh, I do hope they didn't get aired too long." Tricky pages, sorry about that. Here we go, here's Mrs. Rogers. "Amelia Bedelia, the sun will fade the furniture. I asked you to draw the drapes," said Mrs. Rogers. I did, see?" said Amelia Bedelia. She held up her picture. They do not look happy. Then Mrs. Rogers saw the furniture. "The furniture!" she cried. "Did I dust it well enough?" asked Amelia Bedelia. "That's such nice dusting powder." Mr. Rogers went to wash his hands. "I say," he called, "these are very unusual towels." Mrs. Rogers dashed into the bathroom. "Oh, my best towels!" she said. "Didn't I change them enough?" asked Amelia Bedelia. Oh my goodness, she cut holes right in the middle of the towels. Look, that one's got a smiley face. Mrs. Rogers went to the kitchen. "I'll cook dinner. Where is the rice I asked you to measure?" "I put it back in the container, but I remember it measured 4.5 inches, said Amelia Bedelia. "Was the meat delivered?" asked Mrs. Rogers. "Yes," said Amelia Bedelia. "I trimmed the fat just like you said. It does look nice." Mrs. Rogers rushed to the icebox. She opened it. "Lace! Ribbons! Oh dear!" said Mrs. Rogers. "The chicken! You dressed the chicken?" asked Mrs. Rogers. "Yes, and I found the nicest box to put him in," said Amelia Bedelia. "Box!" exclaimed Mrs. Rogers. Mrs. Rogers hurried over to the box. She lifted the lid. There lay the chicken, and he was just as dressed as he could be. Mrs. Rogers was angry. She was very angry. She opened her mouth. Mrs. Rogers meant to tell Amelia Bedelia she was fired. But before she could get the words out, Mr. Rogers put something in her mouth. It was so good Mrs. Rogers forgot about being angry. "Lemon meringue pie!" she exclaimed. "I made it to surprise you," said Amelia Bedelia happily. So right then and there, Mr. and Mrs. Rogers decided that Amelia Bedelia must stay. And so she did. Mrs. Rogers learned to say, "Undust the furniture, unlight the light, close the drapes," and things like that. Mr. Rogers didn't care if Amelia Bedelia trimmed all of his steaks with lace. Looks like the pie worked, huh? Oh my goodness. All he cared about was having her there to make lemon meringue pie. The end. There you have it, my friends. That was Amelia Bedelia by Peggy Parish. Did you like it? Isn't it silly? I love this book. So, let's talk really quickly about what we learned from Amelia Bedelia. Well, we learned that some things have multiple meanings. Like, if you say dust the furniture, that means take the dust off of it. It doesn't literally mean put more dust on it. And dress the chicken means season it, prepare it, not really dress it in clothes, things like that, which Amelia Bedelia didn't know, I guess. But we also learned that making things for people might cheer them up a little bit. Amelia Bedelia baked the Rogers a pie, and that made them so happy. The last thing I wanted to tell you is that even though she didn't really know what she was doing, she didn't exactly do the chores right, she was really ready to help out and do her part, even though it didn't quite work out. But after Mrs. Rogers clarified what she meant, then Amelia Bedelia was able to do it perfectly. So, while you're home these next 2 weeks, think about what you can do to help out around the house. And if you can't quite figure out what you're supposed to do, like Amelia Bedelia, you can ask your parents or your friends or someone who you think knows. Then you can do your part around the house, and who knows, maybe you'll even get some pie for it. I'm Hannah from Story Kids. This is Amelia Bedelia. Until next time, keep reading, everybody. Bye-bye.